Okay, good. So let's get started. So sorry about the technical problems on YouTube again. This move to YouTube Studio Beta seems to have caused a few problems, and I've been away this week, so not had the chance to look into that. I worked out what happened last time, but something different has happened this time, so no idea what that is. So I'm hoping most of you have managed to make it across. Apologies once again. Prior to the next stream, I'll have had a chance to have a proper look at it. The people I can see here are Christine, Priceless, Lois, D, and I know that there's a few other people who may not have put their names up. I think I saw Lynn, Asha, and Charlotte from on the YouTube channel, and I'm hoping you have all made it across. It will be recorded here as well, and I think I can upload this as a YouTube video as well. So fingers crossed, one way or another, people will get to see it. So without further ado, tonight's stream, as I'm sure you know, was called Truth is Unbelievable. Truth is Unbelievable, which is both a humorous but also important, pointing to the nature of self-realization. Sometimes I like to say it that way, just to kind of create a bit more of an impact and for you to look at that, because the two words truth and unbelievable at first to the mind appear to be opposing statements, but actually they're not. Because we're using language to try to describe that which is. And so the reason I use the phrase that way is because this truth that we're talking about, ultimate truth, is that which we are already in the non-personal sense, as we've looked at a lot in previous streams from 25 through to 27 in particular, but really all of them in one way or another. And so if we are already this in the non-personal sense, the absolute infinite silence, then there can't be anything outside of that. And belief, by its nature, requires you to believe in something that you have not experienced. And this is impossible as far as the absolute is concerned, because one is already the absolute and there is nothing outside of it. So the absolute, the realized self, the realized being, is before even the concept of belief. And indeed, belief is not necessary at all as far as absolute truth is concerned, or absolute self-realization. Indeed, belief is a block to self-realization. Take those words in carefully. Belief is a block to self-realization. And the fundamental belief, as I've mentioned on a number of occasions before, is the belief that you are not already the realized self, or expressed another way, the belief that you are the form and the story of the form and the attachments of the form and the identifications of the form. That's not who you are. It may be an experience, but experience of that nature isn't the ultimate truth that we're talking about. the absolute, the realized self, is beyond all experience, or beyond all phenomena, or before all phenomena, as we talked about in live stream 18, which was entitled Beyond Phenomena, from Awakening Experiences to Absolute Self-Realization. Now, just looking at this whole thing to do with belief a bit further, the thing about belief is that it defines, but it also limits. Belief limits, because there's something that is believed in, believed to be true, and things by their nature are limited. Even a thought, an idea, is limited in its nature. It is space and time bound, and it requires, should we say, that energy of belief to be brought into it to create that reality. And that leads us to what belief does. It actually creates a limitation upon the experience of who you are. So if you believe that you are something, the form, the name of the form, the story of the form, the emotions of the form, the thoughts of the form, the relationships of the form, then that will be your experience. This what belief will create, that it will create both the experience and the experiencer, the egoic experiencer. You need both for that experience, and belief will do that, but it'll be very limited in its nature. And with belief, suffering is inevitable. Let me say that again. With belief, suffering is inevitable. Why is that? Again, it's because of the limitation that's placed upon the truth of who you are. And the nature of things, including beliefs, is that they're constantly changing. And other issues to do with beliefs is basically they're kind of like an armor. They create a shell of an experience, and you end up with situations like my belief is, or their belief is, and we get beliefs opposing each other. My belief is better than your belief, or your belief is better than mine. Or we even get people uniting around beliefs and rallying around belief systems. And when these beliefs are taken to extremes, you get extreme situations. Talked about this at length in live stream 4, which you might want to listen to again, and about how the nature of belief is, shall we say, indoctrinated or imposed upon us right from a very early age. And the example I gave in that stream, and I'm not going to go to in depth there, was 2 identical twins that were separated at birth. One was brought up in Nazi Germany, and the other in a really liberal upbringing in Trinidad, I think it was actually. And the difference in those 2 people, even though they're identical twins, was vast. And this was basically a function of the 2 different belief systems that they were brought up in. So our beliefs come to define us, they come to limit us, and they actually block the realization of the self. For as long as there is a belief that you are something, which is the form, the story of the form, etc., etc., then automatically there's a block to the realization. And this, in truth, is the fundamental block to self-realization. Belief is that block. Important also here, for me, as I sit here sharing these insights with you, it's not about believing what I say. In fact, go as far to say, don't believe a word I say, because truth is an experience, not a belief. Truth is an experience, not a belief. Actually, it would be more accurate to say it's an experiencing of the self, by the self, for the self, the infinite silence. So it turns out, as far as the realization of the self is concerned, there's no belief necessary. So if we were to just simply, should we say, close our eyes just now and go, actually, I've no need for belief as far as self-realization is concerned. Just to let that go. Just say, that's not true. I don't need belief. That I'm not beliefs. To unequivocally be open to the truth in that pointing, then right here, right now, one would see through the illusion. Belief is not necessary for absolute truth. Belief is just a concept. It's just an idea. Hence, what I was saying right at the beginning, truth is unbelievable. In other words, it does not require, does not call for belief. So simple and so true, because ultimate truth is simple, and belief systems tend to be complicated. And what one tends to do with ego mind is to look for the evidence to support the belief. Whereas with realization, it unfolds, and then the knowing is simply there. Truth doesn't require proof. You are the truth itself. One simply is this. The last comment I can see coming up there is from D. So I don't know if there's any more up there. I'm going to try going from my phone to Facebook just to see if I can see the stream coming on okay there, just to make sure. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it looks like that's okay. So I'm just going to turn the phone off on the sound off on my phone. Right, so just bear me a moment. Back with you in a moment, folks. I'm just going to also go to it a different way, just from my own, whoops, a daisy. Da, da. There we go, 31 comments. Okay, right. I can see your comments now, which I can't see on this screen here for some reason, but I can see them on my phone. So I'm just going to have a look just to see if I've got. Yeah, so I can see some comments from Yor, and he's saying, I'm tired of the old me and limitations, and I suffer. And that's exactly the case, Yor. You see, within that, if we simply look at those few comments, and I've just seen your further comment further down, the one that is tired of itself. What I mean by that, this is ego mind that's tired of itself. But you'll notice there's a higher level. If you step back from that and look, actually, who is the one that is saying that? Who is the one that witnesses that? The one that is saying this is tired of itself, and that's ego mind. The one that is aware that this tiredness is present and is watching the tiredness, who's that one? Who's that one? It's that one that you're looking for. We're stepping back before thought, before ideas, before concepts, to that which is unchanging, unmoving. And then moving on to the second part of your comment further down, where you say, so stop believing in the limitations. Exactly that. Stop believing in the limitations. In fact, I would go as far to say as let go of all beliefs that one has about who you think that you are, because one doesn't think one's way to self-realization. One simply is the realization. Let me say that again. One doesn't think or believe one's way to self-realization. One simply is the realization. And this realization, by the way, is totally non-personal. So you may think that you are Yor, but that's just an expression of the absolute as Yor, and that's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you don't have to believe that that's who you really are. You are the ultimate observer, or as I referred to it in one of the previous streams, the unseen seer, the one that is seeing, witnessing all of this unfolding. You then go and say, the truth is in me, and that's okay to a point. I would take it slightly differently though, because there's a potential risk there of it being seen as personal. In me, the person, Yor, no. More accurate to say, the truth is that which am I, and this I is the infinite and non-personal I. The non-personal I. So the truth is that which am I, the infinite I, not the personal I, because that in itself is a limitation. The I, the small I, the defined I. You go and say, in other words, I shouldn't give a damn. Well, depends what you mean by that. What we're talking about is letting go of the limitations, or opening to the highest truth that is already here, that you already are. So this is before even the idea of giving a damn or not giving a damn. One just simply is this. And in this way, as the realization flowers, one can have the experience of being in the form of you, but one is not limited by that in terms of one's awareness. So hopefully that clarifies it for you. Yeah, so losing me, you then go on to say, exactly, you're losing the small I. And this I, the I as thinks it's your, will likely feel scary to that identified I. And the reason it feels scary is because it realizes that this identity has to dissolve or die. And this it fears the most. This it fears the most. However, this fear is also, whilst experienced, is seen or watched or witnessed from a higher space. And from that space, that fear dissolves, and what's left, yes, the form of your will still be there, but now the awareness is that you are the infinite silence. You then go on to say, who am I then? Good question. And the question dissolves the questioner, dissolves the idea of your, and the self, the true self, the infinite silence, the absolute, is realized. That's who you are. But again, I'm not asking you to believe me on this. It's about being open to the experience and seeing what it is that emerges from that. So just looking at the other comments, yeah, exactly. Meg saying one doesn't need to think. That's exactly what I was saying earlier. One doesn't think one's way to self-realization. One is the realization. This one is non-personal. Understand that carefully. Is non-personal. Yet it's expressed in infinite variety. So it appears in this form that we call Philip. It is expressed in the form that we call your. It's expressed in the form of Meg and Priceless and D and so on. I've just seen Lynn pop up as well. I'm not sure if I'm seeing all the comments. I've got some appearing on my laptop that are not the same as the ones as I'm getting on my phone. So it may be that you're making a comment that I can't see, and if that's the case, I apologize. Yeah, I can see that it's you, Lynn. If you're making a comment that I'm not responding to, it's probably because of the different devices. So apologies for that. I'm scrolling down here. I'm just going to have a quick scroll down and see if I can see. Okay, I can see a few more people have joined us. Asha, Anne, Lois, Lynn, D. Who else? Yeah, I've just realized they're actually all there. Just got down to the bottom of them. Good. Okay, so I think I have actually got the questions or the comments that have been appearing. It appears a number of people, but possibly not everybody has made it across. So apologies for that if you're watching later. I'm just going to have a quick look at the things I prepared, just noted down here, just to make sure I covered them all. Yeah, I have. So just to come back to our starting point, truth is unbelievable. It does not require belief. Belief limits, and truth is unlimited. So if one is open to the possibility of releasing the idea of belief, letting any fear that may come up with that be present, just watched, allowed it to be without judgment, then the doorway, so to speak, is wide open to the realization of who you are. Just this. Just this. Just this. Nothing complicated about it. One simply is this. That's all. And then one can have the experience of life in the form without all of the identifications, attachments, limitations that come with that. Truth is unbelievable. It does not require belief. Good. Enough words. Enough words. Going to go to a meditation now. So if you want to get yourself comfortable, we'll do that. And we'll also have a little bit of harp at the end of the meditation. So yeah, just simply, well, it's up to you whether you want to close your eyes or have your eyes open. Being aware of your body. Just simply noticing the form. And then being open from the heart to the experience of spheres of light. The pure universal sense, I am. Just knowing that this pure universal sense, I am, the universal presence of I am is witnessed from the deeper space of infinite silence. So simply allow your attention now to dissolve into and as the silence. Merging, melting, becoming this, realizing this silent essence, this pure knowing, this pure awareness. Simply here now. Nothing else matters but this. Simple awareness. That's all. Just awareness. Here it is. Here you are. No effort required. pure, infinite, silence. In silence, you will realize your truth. In truth, you will realize you are silence. Always here as this. Never not this. Simply absolute awareness as infinite silence. Here, the true non-personal you is now. Here you are. Pure essence, pure silence. Nothing more than this. Nothing less than this. Here it is. The isness. stillness, pure awareness. Pure presence. From here, all else is witnessed. Simply open to this now. And just remain in and as that awareness of the silence. And I'll play the harp track for you to enjoy. So keeping your attention rested in and as the silence. Know that this attention as the silent witness is always present, and you may rest this attention as this awareness. Thoughts, feelings, sensations, phenomena may appear, but they all appear in front of this, to be witnessed, to be seen. And in the clear seeing, the knowing of the self as the self is inevitable. Rest as this, always. In a moment, I'll ring the singing bowl to mark the end of this meditation. I'll ring it 3 times, but keep your attention rested as the silence. And then I'll pick up on a few things I've noticed during the meditation. Good. So if you haven't already done so, feel free to open your eyes, or maybe your eyes are already open. There's a comment from Dee there, which I'm going to pick up on in a minute. I just did some checks back at YouTube just to see if there was anybody still there. Also just checked we were okay streaming on Facebook, and noticed that a few people, I don't know if I picked up everybody, were hosting what I think is called watch parties. I noticed Meg and Priceless and Charlotte. So I'm not sure where this is being watched and how other people who are watching it, but you're very welcome if you are. The only comments I can see are on this particular piece here. I did notice that in responding to some of those watch parties that the comments didn't appear on this piece here. So you may not see, and I may not therefore see, all of the comments that are coming through. So apologies for that. I can only see those on my page at the moment. So if anybody wants to pass on those comments on either now or later, they can do. I will be able to download this, I think, as a video onto YouTube. That may not be this evening. We'll see. Just looking at Dee's comments, she was saying that something new has happened this time during the meditation. As I was dissolved sorry, as I was in the dissolved space, I became aware of my heart chakra, and it felt like it opened up into an infinite space of light. I'm going to explore this and see if I can go into this deeper later. I love that the new experiences of entering and exiting seemingly, in brackets, occur to the witness. And D. Yeah, so this is quite a good observation, because even this sense of entering and exiting is observed, is noticed, and that has to be noticed by something. So that which is doing the noticing, the ultimate observer, I refer to as the silent witness, and that's non-personal. It's unmoved by the noticing, by the witnessing. It simply observes. And even that witness is birthed from the silence itself, which is the unseen seer, the pure awareness of awareness as awareness. So just simply allow this experience, D, to be what it is, and know that you are before the experience. You're the one that noticed. The experience is happening within the ultimate truth of who you are. It's an appearance, but you're before the appearance. Quite subtle, but important to notice this. And the way that you're expressing that, there's an observation there that of the experience appearing, and then, oh, you said entering and exiting. So who was before that? Who was it that saw that? And who's before even the witness? Here you are, the non-personal, infinite silence. If anybody else wants to share an experience, please feel free to do so. Oh, thanks for that clarification, Priceless, on as well. So there may be other comments coming in there that I can't see, and from the other watch parties. So thank you for those that are sharing it. One thing I forgot to mention earlier in connection with belief, and it's again another look at this word. I came across this for a few years ago at one of the very, very early events, and it was re-looking at the origins of the word belief in the context of how we now use it in English in particular. And the insight that was given, as well as a clarification from the etymology, the root of the word belief. It had been researched, and it turned out that in English, the word belief, as we use it, as we spell it now, B-E-L-I-E-F, comes from two words, be and low-f, L-O-E-F. And low-f is the Old English word for love. And in its original usage, be low-f, be, it meant be love, and it changed to have the person as the object, i.e. it wasn't something outside of you, which is how we currently use belief, something beyond you, something you haven't experienced. It was with the person as the object, and it was be low-f, be love. So the pure pointing in the root of the word belief is to be love. It's not to believe in something, but to be the love. Be loef. Be love. Or even beloved. The non-personal essence. So this is quite a nice way of looking at really what was behind it, what was projected outwards by misunderstandings into something beyond us, to actually come back to its roots. And we are not only the love, but the very source of that love. So herein again is a misunderstanding in the language. It actually originally was pointing to being love. The source of that love, that's whom we are. Be love. I find that rather beautiful way to look at it. Be the love. We are the love. And this isn't something that one has to strive to do. It's that which you already are. So it's simply about dropping, or the appearance of dropping, unequivocally all that we are not. If anybody wants to ask any questions, please ask them. I'm just scrolling down just to see if there is any more. How Jules become Amber. Well done, Jewel. Yeah, indeed, Lewis. So that's why I shared it. I haven't sort of shared that for a while, but it came to me tonight to sort of just bring it back to its source, to be the love. One other thing I was wanting to, or feeling called to share tonight about, although those of you taking part in the 3-month meditation program, we're now about a month in to that. In fact, exactly a month in, I think 28 days. So 2 more months to go. I just want to say a little bit about meditation. You know, the process of meditation appears first, like in this 3-month program, to be a practice, a spiritual practice. But it is in the practice, which is really acting as a bridge, comes the realization that you are the meditation. One is, if you like, a living meditation. One is a living meditation. And so in the practice itself dissolves and one becomes the meditation. And that's the realization. One then is the living silence, the living meditation, the living awareness. And this form that you have can still be here, like the facet of the diamond I've often talked about. And the practice has become practiceless, effortless. So keep going with your meditation, keep using the infinite silence meditations, because they are very direct. Not because Philip says so, but because you are already this. Just looking at these comments here, that makes perfect sense. Thank you for sharing that. I love the Finding the Origins of Words. Yeah, thank you, Dee, for that. It was a gentleman who came to one of the really early workshops, Stephen, who shared that with me, and I can't remember who he found it from, but thank you anyway. Precious saying, namaste, beautiful souls. Always a pleasure to share this sacred space. Indeed. So I think we're pretty much done for tonight. I don't think there's anything else I was feeling called to say or share. Apologies once again for the technical issues. As I say, I was away this week, so I didn't get time to check, but I really imagined, having solved the problem last time, that it would be straightforward tonight. So not really sure what happened with the stream on YouTube, but prior to the next stream I'm planning to do in 2 weeks' time, whenever that is, I think it will probably be something like 12th of April. I'm not sure, whatever that Friday is in 2 weeks' time anyway, is the one I'm aiming for. I'll do some checks and test streams with the Harp, just to make sure that it's all functioning. This transition across to the new version of YouTube has obviously caused a few problems, so I'll do a bit of research on that to see if we can solve that. And as a backup in advance, if I can't solve that, I will use this Facebook Live as the alternative, but I'll let you know hopefully in advance if that's the case. So yeah, I say once again, apologies for that. It wasn't possible for me to solve it on YouTube tonight, but at least we found an alternative, and some people managed to make it across, if not all. So namaste, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thank you for making it across. Thank you for bearing with us. I'll leave you with a little bit more Harp, and yeah, we'll close from there, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And if anybody's picked up any comments or questions from the watch parties that I can't see, you can feel free to share with me, and I can either pick up on the next stream, or perhaps you can tag me and I can respond to them, whatever. And as I say, I'll endeavour to download this at some point and put it as a video on YouTube. And I'll send out an email also to the those involved in the program. Namaste. Have a great weekend, folks. Blessings. Much love. Enjoy the Harp. Just responding to Lewis there, yes, that is the same weekend as the Gorton meetup. That's the 14th of April at Gorton, and the 12th of April, therefore the Friday, will be the stream. You're very welcome as well, Lynn. So I'll close the stream in a couple of minutes. So enjoy the Harp. Okay, folks, so good evening. Enjoy your weekend, and I'm going to close the stream shortly. So the harp will come off first. Namaste.